What does the CEO of Palantir know about neurodivergent people that we don't? Basically just said that if you want to be successful in this coming up future with AI and all the technological advances, that you're either gonna have to go into a trade, something of that nature, or you're gonna have to be neurodivergent.
I want to preface this by saying the organization that we are talking about, Palantir, is an AI mass surveillance company, and they are named after the all-seeing evil eye in Lord of the Rings that allows people to view far away at places and events. And as a slight side note, if you ever read Tom Shipley's analysis of Palantir in Lord of the Rings, you can see that the user consistently misinterprets what they see, and that is very apt for Palantir the more you read about them. But this drive for neurodivergent talent is not just Palantir. It's across the world of tech, and it's been a recruitment drive for neurodiverse talent, particularly since the pandemic. There's also a reason why things like dyslexia are so common at MIT. They are affectionately called the MIT disease, which I like to think is hopefully affectionate. In an industrialized world, people operated like machines. They were taught and socialized to operate like machines. But in a world where AI can produce the average answer instantly, the people who think outside the box are going to become more essential. And let me explain what I mean by that. AI is a statistical aggregator. It takes your input and it produces the most statistically probable output. That's what it does. That's how it works. Now here's the problem. If your thinking falls within the middle of the bell curve, within that kind of average range, machines can replicate that kind of thinking really easily. And we have spent a couple of centuries educating people to behave like machines. We measure and rewarded people for their ability to retain, recite, and regurgitate information. Exams for people, benchmarks for AI models. They basically measure the same thing, the ability to follow processes to produce a predictable output and stay within the lines and confines of our understanding of intelligence. That means right and wrong answers, narrow specialisms, rather than the ability to move between diverse spheres of influence and subjects to find the connection between them. But here's the thing, machines do that better than people ever will. So now the middle of the bell curve is competing with AI, something that is available on demand, anytime, any device, anywhere, for a fraction of the cost, so cheap that it's pretty much free. If my capability is less than or equal to that of a machine, well, a machine is going to machine better than we do. What we value in a digital economy is the kind of things that machines can't replicate easily. And that is where neurodiversity comes in. Think of neurodiversity like the stats on a Sims character. A neurotypical person might have all of their stats comfortably somewhere in the middle. But a neurodiverse person, some stats might be completely maxed out while others are basically empty. Neurodiversity at its heart is essentially recognizing that you are marginalized because of the way that you think, act, and behave. And in many ways, that was a disadvantage in an industrialized world because you were educated to fit the mold. That's how you succeeded in a society that was structured that way. However, the skills that neurodiverse people tend to bring are things like curiosity, creativity, critical thinking. The marginalization that they experienced in an industrialized world for thinking different can be advantageous in a world where AI gets the average results cheaper, faster, and more effectively. These are normally the kind of traits that fall outside of the typical range, and they are normally educated out of us rather than cultivated through the educational system. And in a world where AI produces the statistically probable answer instantaneously, those skills outside of that matter. And companies are going to figure this out. When everybody can get access to average thinking through an AI agent, the value shifts from the people who think normally to those who don't. And that is neurodivergent people. Just a reminder, if you are a neurodivergent talent, you can put your thinking to much nobler pursuits and ethical organizations that prioritize social good and socially acceptable outcomes. And finally, what I want to add is that technology has always driven and shifted what society values. But the message that I'd really like you to take away from this video is, regardless of whether you are neurodiverse, neurotypical, a bright mind, bang on average, maybe struggles, we should be cultivating economic systems that serve all people, all intelligences, all capabilities, both mental and bodily, with people contributing what they fundamentally can, but with that society meeting the basic needs of every single individual. If a socio-economic system is not capable of doing that, it is not only ineffective, it is entirely obsolete, and we need to remember that.